Hello, friends, and welcome back to Spike Week for another special edition draft show on Thursdays, where I don't decide the draft strategy. You guys decide the draft strategy. We're going to spin the wheel here in a minute. We're going to draft a couple of best ball teams and see if we can't take home a whole bunch of money, I think, on drafters today. Let's go ahead and do it. GM Mac, where the party at? Chris says. Well, the party is not here for me, at least not yet. It is 9 a.m. Central Time. I will say, I don't know if this is good for it's supposed to be hot best ball summer and all that. It has been exorbitantly hot thus far here where I'm from, and it is quite cool today. I'm rocking long sleeves. So a nice change of pace, which of course the Thursday show is a nice change of pace for us here at Spike Week. If you have not joined us before on Thursdays, we're drafting best ball teams. That's what we do around here, but with a small little twist where the folks from the Spike Week community in the Discord, which of course there's a link in the description. This portion of the Discord is free for all. It is not behind the paywall. You can access everything behind the paywall for just $5. Or if you're already a Spike Week premium member, you have access to the tools and the rankings and all that kind of stuff. You can get access to the full Discord. But in the live streams channel, folks can leave ideas for rules, if you will, for these drafts. Things as simple as draft a zero running back team, things as simple as draft an elite tight end team, things as crazy as this one's on the wheel, but we can go ahead and spoil it. Every player that you draft must be from the SEC. We've done every player on your team must have a different first letter of their last name, which was the most difficult one for sure. And we've had some ups and downs where I've screwed up the rule several times, so much so that I had to do a punishment draft and everything there in between. That's what we do here on Thursday. So we're going to draft a couple of best ball teams. We're going to get right into it. On tomorrow's show, we will give away 3 free tickets to the Drafters main event. So 3 $20 tickets to Drafters. That is every week leading up to the season on Fridays. And how you get entered into that is simply by dropping a comment on one of our videos of this week. So drop a comment after the show is over or on yesterday's show. You can get entered twice if you drop a comment on yesterday's show. And at the end of tomorrow's show, which is on Fridays, we go over kind of all the most relevant training camp news. And of course, we draft some teams as well and talk through what happened this week in training camp. What do we need to know? Who got hurt again? Because this list of injuries is getting absolutely overwhelming. We'll do that tomorrow and we'll give away some free tickets. Wanted to shout that out before we pop in and start doing some drafting. GM Shuby, GM Versaire for best ball. Sticky best ball summer is good in maybe multiple different ways. And I agree with Mac. It's a great day to get out of our comfort zone and draft some unique teams. I'm very in on that. Let's go ahead and without further, Jonathan, why isn't there a wheel option where you have to take Jaden Blue in the first round? If you submitted that as a rule request, I would deny it. It would not get added to the list. So let's see what we're gonna draft over on Drafters. I think this morning, maybe in the $3 because it's getting close to being full there. And a lot more people can probably get into. Oh, okay. This one maybe doesn't work. So maybe we're gonna have to. Maybe I lied. Maybe we're gonna let's go on over to DraftKings. Let me get this prepped and ready here. The rule, which of course has week 17 involved. I want to make sure we're doing the rule its appropriate service and giving it the full weight of the rule. But it is the buddy system. It's a buddy system rule today. After round 1, every pick must be a teammate or an opponent from a player's week 17 game. Actually, now that I think about this, I don't think that that's technically possible, is it? Because after that would just draft the same player on every. So I guess let me think about this. Let's talk it through. Maybe my brain's too small for this. So in round 1, let's just play out a scenario. In round 1, we draft Puka Nacua, meaning in round 2, we would have to draft Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, or Drake London. Then you would have to, you would only be able to get to those. I'm trying to think of if there was a way to do it with the other playoff matchups. Let's skip this one. Whoever submitted this, you probably had an idea for this, and it was not well worded. So we're off to a good start. I should have removed that from the spin. Let's spin it again. Yeah, every odd pick starts over. Yeah, that's too much. We're skipping. Oh, okay. This is fun. I like this one. This is fun. Can only draft players from teams that had a losing record in 2024. As we know, everybody loves, myself included, loves to draft players on good teams. The good teams, the winning teams generally score a few more points. But bad teams also score fantasy points. And sometimes the bad teams are undervalued. So let's go ahead and make sure we know who's on all of the let's go NFL standings 2024. So here's our teams that we can draft players from. Only losing records. This is gonna suck, I think. I'm gonna need a Google sheet here on the side from you guys. I'm not smart enough to remember every team that had a losing record, but I do enjoy this one. I think this one's gonna be pretty fun. So we got, let's see here, the Jets. Oh, Dolphins fit. That's nice. Dolphins. So we got Dolphins, Jets, Patriots. God, that division sucked ass, huh? And then only the Browns from the North. Almost everybody in the South. I'm glad I can get my Jaguars. That's good. Colts, Jags, Titans. Only the Raiders from the West. Ooh, Cowboys. They're a cheat code for this rule. The Cowboys, the Giants, the Bears, Falcons. Nice. This is going to be easier than I thought it was going to be. Saints, Panthers, of course, and Cardinals and 49ers. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. We're good. This one's going to be quite easy, I think. Justin Fields, come on down. Bengals being 9-8 is a vibe killer, says Logan. Luckily, we got bailed out, I think, with this rule a little bit here. I'm not too worried about the Bengals. I think we'll be all right here. Let's go over to drafters. Let's hop in this $3. Looks like it's 9 of 12. Can fill that one pretty quickly and allow folks to get maybe some into the $3. And we're full. We'll rip another one of these after this is over. Draw the 111, so don't have to worry about that Bengals stuff anyway. See Mac in here. I see you1. I'm sure some of you other folks feel free to drop in the chat if you were able to join us for this one. Sorry to AJ Sports there. I'm going to cover you up with my face. Okay, so for best ball is I always get when you guys have a different name on like everywhere, right? A different YouTube name, a different drafters name, a different underdog name, a different Discord name. It's very difficult to keep track of people, I will say. It's very difficult to keep track. Charles sees some elite tight end. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We do have outs to all of those elite tight ends. That is for sure. So that is nice. Cardinals, 49ers, and Raiders all on the board here. Not a bad idea. Let's look at the tight end position. So Dolphins don't love, Jets don't love, Patriots meh, Browns okay, Colts okay, Jaguars, Titans, Cowboys, Giants. Tight end is not awesome amongst the losing teams. There's a trend. The Saints, Juwan just got hurt. Make sure you check on that if you are interested in drafting Juwan Johnson. But yeah, all the elite tight ends from bad teams, last year's bad teams, not necessarily teams that we expect to be bad, which is another great little thing that happens in our best ball world is people do use mostly last season to determine, if you're thinking about things like strength of schedule, if you're thinking about things like, who faces the easiest defenses, right? Those kinds of things. You're looking at some combination of last year's performance. And then from a team strength perspective, I know a lot of people like to use the Vegas win totals. It's not like inherently wrong for sure to do that, but I think it can really, really lead us astray. And I think we're going to find out in this draft specifically that when we look at teams that these would be the bad teams from last season, that I'm drafting players from the bad teams. And I think that we're going to stumble into tons of guys that we love here on offenses and teams that we would call good. But if we looked at last year, they would not have been good. So always a delicate balance trying to look at like historical data, specifically like team level performances, and project things like strength of schedule. What is strength of schedule in best, like what does it really mean in best ball? It playing a team with a high win total, is that even bad? Like, was it bad to play the Lions or the Commanders last year? That's tough from like a strength of schedule from a real life perspective. Like, are you going to win the game? But we don't care about winning the game in fantasy football. We care about scoring a bunch of points. We don't want to be playing against awesome defenses, but if the awesome defense is attached to an awesome offense that they're going to score a bunch of points, it's an interesting little dilemma. Let's see. CMC go. So I cannot take Amon-Ra. I can take Thomas or Achane or Genty. Do we say London on there? London is on the list. And Bowers is on the list. I have a good clip of. How about Genty? I have very, very, very little Genty, and let's just kind of see what happens here in the second round. I'm trying to use this. I know I just took him at 11, so it kind of defeats the purpose of saying this. But I am trying to get a little bit more Ashton Genty, not a ton. I like the wide receivers here quite a bit more than the running backs, but you're getting a nice fall a decent amount of the time. You're getting a nice fall a decent amount of the time. Chris says, I know you're pumped knowing Wan'Dale Robinson falls within this rule and Ray McLeod. Yeah, exactly. Really to draft both of those guys. So he takes Amon-Ra and BTJ. So I'm thinking about, as I look at this list, I have a lot of later receivers that I really like. Not in love with the later running backs, just doing a quick scan. So I'm going to do Genty Achane because I'm just looking at this list. And later running backs is maybe the weakness, I think, for this. Obviously, we talked about the elite tight ends. Tight end could get a little bit tricky, but like, okay, the Jags guys, but like the Colts, I'm not personally drafting the other, DJ Giddens, Khalil Herbert situation, at least not yet. Browns, Samson, Ford, but like, am I really like, do I want to build my draft around Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford? Patriots, like Travion, I like, of course. I can get him onto this team, but like, I don't know. It's a little bit thin. Like the Saints, obviously, I don't love that situation. The Bears, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Raiders after Genty. So running back was the thing that, as I was just kind of trying to mentally scan the list of the bad teams and see if there was anything that jumped out. I kind of think it's the late running back is not great on this list, whereas late wide receiver actually is not that bad. It's not great because we're drafting the bad teams, but I think it's a little stronger, and it's definitely plenty of quarterbacks available because it's all the shit teams, not all the good teams. If you have an elite quarterback, you're not on this list, so I don't have to worry about elite quarterback. So maybe let's actually get our running backs going a little bit earlier than I usually would. Let me get this up on the screen. All right. So for anybody that has just joined, this is what we're doing today. This is what we do on Thursdays. We have a little fun. We change up the draft strategy just a smidge. Let me move my dome back. Change up the draft strategy just a little bit. The folks submit some rules via the wheel, and I have to live and die by the rules that the wheel spits out to me. And today we're drafting players from only teams that had losing records in 2024. See if we can't put together a winner of all the teams that were bad last year. Let's see here. Charles is over on DraftKings. Maybe we'll move over. Maybe we'll get into one of the chaotic DraftKings rooms after that. We'll see. Someone took Lamar and Chase Brown. Lamar Burrow. He says took Lamar and Burrow with their first two picks. That is DraftKings.com in a nutshell. Leone is pumping 3 quarterback in playoff format. Best Ball and Davis' show right now. Fascinating stuff. Yeah, I'm tired of I get it. Like, we're all worked up about someone said to draft 3 quarterbacks and another person said to draft 2. It's like the least interesting part of Best Ball to me. Why are we still talking about this? The season's almost here. If you want to draft 3 quarterbacks, draft 3 quarterbacks. If you want to draft 2, there's times to draft 3. There's times to draft 2. They can both work. Like, why don't we spend some time talking about some stuff that what's going on right now? Where should you draft? Right. Hampton at pick 14. Charles hopes that's not Hampton's new ADP. It's not going to be his new ADP, but he's definitely going to keep rising. That's a fun conversation. Should you draft Amari and Hampton? How high should you chase Amari and Hampton up? Not whether 3 quarterbacks with no context and no nuance. Is Tyler Shuck a 3 quarterback team? Because he ain't the starter right now with the Saints. Is Daniel Jones a 3 quarterback team? Is Russell Wilson? Is Aaron Rodgers? Really? Okay. Losing teams. Oh, Kittle time. Good Lord. I've started with Genty HN1. No, 100% of my Genty teams have Kittle and on drafters. And apparently we're just going to stick to that and keep that. I don't know that I want that, but for the rule today, I think it. Let's see. Can't do Terry. I can do DJ Moore. This is a little bit of the tricky spot. I could pull Pickens all the way over here or T-Mac. Let's do T-Mac. Panthers, obviously, a big-time loser. To get the Triple H, Sizzle says I had to get Hampton in the 3rd. Yeah, the days of 4th-round Hampton, 5th-round Henderson or Harvey, and 6th-round Henderson or Harvey, those are gone. It's over. None of those guys are QB3, but A-Rich is QB2 in the 18th. Honestly, I know I just said don't talk about the quarterback stuff. But if we're gonna say we should be taking multiple quarterbacks, shouldn't we be taking swings on quarterbacks who can have monster seasons and particularly monster weeks? If the premise of 3 quarterbacks is I'm going to score more points and I'm going to particularly have some spikes in the playoffs, don't I want the spike players? Not Tyler Shuck, not Aaron Rodgers. And what does it mean? What does it mean if I draft, let's just say, Lamar Jackson, and he has such a dud that I needed round 17 or whatever, Jackson Dart to have a spike. If I just stack the Ravens on this team, right? Everybody says that correlation is good. So the Ravens dudded. I spent a 3rd round pick on. Hopefully, I didn't spend a 2nd-round pick on Henry also, but I spent a 5th-round pick on Zay Flowers and a 9th-round pick on Mark Andrews. So all these guys didn't get home. There's a really tricky balance. So you're drafting A Rich. Noted. No, not necessarily. I talked about A Rich yesterday. How I phrased it, if you weren't here yesterday, is Anthony Richardson at pick 190 or whatever he goes at, depending upon the site that you're on, is like the scene from The Office when Kevin gets offered 10,000 to 1 for whatever it was, I forget. And he says, there's a rule. If you get offered 10,000 to 1 on anything, you take it. And like, that's the Anthony Richardson thing. Do I think he's good? No. Do I think he's going to maintain the whole season? No, probably not. Do I think, do I want to bet on like Anthony Richardson's career? Do I want to bet on the Colts that much? Like all of those things are the epitome of, I'm terrified of all of that. But Anthony Richardson, as a fantasy asset, no matter what, has scored a bunch of fantasy points when he's been on the field. It's what he does. And so, do I want to take my 10,000 to 1 on that and live with it? Because it's probably going to lose. Guess what? Welcome to best ball. We're probably going to lose. Welcome to Spike Week. You're probably going to lose. That's the new tagline. And so, some swings on the 10,000 to 1 guy. Like you're getting like 500 to 1 on Tyler Shuck and 10,000 to 1 on Anthony Richardson or something. Like, right? That's the payoff. The payoffs are just so wildly different. Why wouldn't I take the 10,000 to 1 guy? Just a little bit, right? No one's putting your whole life savings on a 10,000 to 1 bet, but I'll dabble. If I'm getting one guy at 500 to 1 and one at 10,000 to 1, and the 10,000 to 1 doesn't seem like any different, sure, give me that guy. About to be back on the clock in the shit teams draft. Only thing spiking for Shuck is his sugars when he has his prune juice in the morning. Does he drink prune juice in the morning? Is that a thing? I'm unaware of the Tyler Shuck prune juice that's going around. Jalen Waddle here. He does fit. Shuba, I can continue with the dang, can't do Harvey. Do I want Travion? Do I take Jalen Waddle? Do I build more Chuba? Let's build around the Panthers, huh? Let's build around the Panthers. He's old. That was an old man. That's an old man joke. I'm so old it went. Waddle and Trevion go. Okay. Diggs fits. Olave fits. Rome fits. All right. This works. Man, Diggs has moved up the board, huh? Jawan fits. And I could do the Purdy stack. Let's do that. How about that? 49ers stack on the bad teams. In the bad teams draft. That's fun. Dr. Shook. So you're saying there's a chance, says Kendrick. That is true. I do find it interesting. Like I'll say this too, right? I think anyone that talks about best ball, certainly as much as we do, but just overall, will say things like, all it really takes is, a couple of well-timed spikes for someone to pay off. And like, that's obviously an oversimplification of any pick, even an 18th or 20th round pick. That's not really how it works. If you got a 20th round pick a couple of years ago that spiked twice and you passed on Puka Nacua to get him, they didn't really pay off because there was a pretty binary answer to what the late rounds led you to: Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua. Obviously, those are significant outliers. But last year, if you took someone over Bucky, right, a late round guy who only spiked, and you took him over Bucky, that hurt. If you took a late round guy over Chuba Hubbard, that hurt. There's lots of examples, not to the extent of Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua, but we do that. We use that as a crutch. Again, the royal we. I use this as a crutch as well because it's really easy to say, well, even if it doesn't go well, if he spikes, we can get home with this pick, and that's not really true. However, it is something to keep in mind with an Anthony Richardson type, that if we're drafting, especially if you want to draft him on 3 quarterback teams, you have cover. You have 2 other quarterbacks. You're betting on 3 different offenses, and a well-timed spike in that regard can be like extremely valuable. Anthony Richardson could suck most of the season, drop 30 in week 15, carry your Joe Burrow team through, and it absolutely can matter. But that's why the archetype of the quarterback matters. That's why the types of quarterbacks that we're putting together matters. Like, just like, right, it's like what we do. Another thing we do in fantasy football that I think is apparently we're on the things that we can improve upon in fantasy football today. Yesterday was Chiefs Day. Drafted 2 Travis Kelce teams, which like doubled my amount of Travis Kelce teams. And today is things that we can improve upon. It's Self-Improvement Thursday. Chiefs Wednesday, Self-Improvement Thursday, Free Ticket Friday is what we have going on this week. Now I do this every time, and I forget what I was going to say. But the types of quarterbacks, right? We just label quarterback as quarterback, because in the data, it's the easiest way to research something. You just call them all quarterbacks. You call them all tight ends. We do that with wide receiver ones. Is another, like, he's a wide receiver 1. He's a wide receiver 2, and because it's a simple way and to like label these guys. But not all wide receiver 1s are created equal, right? Saying, oh, well, he's the wide receiver 1, like I should be excited about that, is what leads you to overdrafting Brandon Cooks and Allen Robinson and a myriad of Kenny Gallaudays of the world that have been massively overdrafted because they're the air quotes wide receiver 1 on their team, even though they're not good enough to earn. This is the end of Allen Robinson's career, not the peak. He was a good player at one point in time, but like Brandon Cooks is just not good enough to carry an offense as a wide receiver 1. And what does a wide receiver 1 mean? A 23% target share or a 34% target share? They're wildly different things. Is Brock Bowers on that team, or is Theo Johnson on that team? The wide receiver 1 is wildly different. Okay, can't do Chiefs, can't do Vikings, can't do Bucks, don't want to do Mixon. I don't like ETN. Kyler Fields, Jesus Christ. This is a fucking atrocious. Can't do Keon. Oh, shit. I'm going to have to take fucking Purdy right now. Who the hell? Is there a goddamn wide receiver on it? The Colts. Fucking Pittman. Mooney, right? Yeah. Pittman, Mooney. Tight end, nope. Running back is disgusting. I mean, god damn it. I'm not going to be able to pounce on this Mooney fall. Ugh. Michael Pittman, I guess. Michael Pittman. Getting some exposure to players I don't normally get exposure to. So, I've learned that the 7-8 turn is not great for teams, for players on losing teams. Lesson learned today. Can reaching for differentiation end up benefiting your opponents by giving them access to stronger, more naturally unique lineups? Sometimes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, for sure. That definitely can happen. Oh, wow. Did not expect a Hunter Renfrow question. But for Panther stacks, is Renfrow on the menu for you? No, he is not. Renfrow, to me, he's the epitome of what we've always talked about with like Dare Ogunbowale, or what Samaje Perine is now. Samaje Perine at his peak on the Bengals was more than this, but now this is what he is. Mac Hollins is like this at wide receiver, where he's not valuable himself, but he carves out a specific role that NFL teams like value, and he hurts someone else or other players, right? Dare Ogunbowale has never been fantasy useful, will never be fantasy useful, but he gets enough, right? As a trusted pass down player. That's the Samaje P. Ryan. It's like Chase Brown's great, but he's still going to cede some stuff to P. Ryan because that's just what P. Ryan does. It's what Matt Collins has done for a long time. He wasn't necessarily at his peak. He was like maybe a little bit useful, but generally he's an awesome blocker and a downfield threat. He just doesn't play, that doesn't earn enough targets and doesn't play enough to like really matter for fantasy. I think Hunter Renfrow can be that largely for Adam Thielen. We've been kind of banking, again, the market, the fantasy market has been banking on Adam Thielen being something that we've seen for the last couple of seasons. But the team's sort of telling us a different story. Obviously, they drafted T-Mac in the top 10 this year. So the expectation is, he's going to at least be given every opportunity to lead the way from a pass game perspective. They drafted Xavier Legette in the first round just a year ago. That didn't go very well, but all indications from the team are that they're pretty happy about the 1-2 combo of T-Mac and Legette kind of leading them into the future at wide receiver. And then they brought in Hunter Renfrow. They do have Jalen Coker as well at wide receiver. That starts to muddy things up with Renfrow, Thielen, Coker, Jatavian Sanders, etc. So I don't want to draft those guys, but they can prohibit me from drafting another guy who's going to be reliant upon the slot, aka Adam Thielen. Thielen and Renfrow both going to be slot players. That's all they can do. Certainly, that's all Renfrow's ever done, but that's all Thielen can do at this stage of his career, which was fine if it's going to be Legette and T-Mac. But now if Renfrow is going to steal some of that work, it just makes me avoid Thielen, not target Renfrow. Are you back on the Kyle Pitts train? I'm not sure that I would classify it as that, but I've been silently dabbling in the Kyle Pitts world all summer without really talking about it. It's been I don't really care about all the hype. I do care that he seems to be playing a little bit more just true wide receiver than tight end, which I think is a much better fit for his skill set. And I care that he's extremely cheap now with Michael Penix at quarterback, who theoretically could elevate this Falcons offense. So I dabble in a little Kyle Pitts. I would not classify myself as in on the Kyle Pitts train, but I'm definitely going to have some Kyle Pitts. Speaking of Matt Hollins, Pi says you just got reports that Hollins is lining up as the starting X in practice. That's like the most predictable shit I think I've ever heard. That would have been my guess. I know that Matt Hollins seems very boring to most, but Stephon Diggs, Matt Hollins, and should have probably been the favorite to start the season in 3 wide sets. Okay, can't you pick Shaheed? Shaheed is a good fit on this team. Now we're starting to cook a little bit here. God damn, it is a lot harder than I thought to find some freaking wide receivers. Shaheed, what's that running back? Sharps, Tracy, Tajay. I love me some Tajay. So probably what we'll do here, I could do Tyler Warren and build out the secondary Colts stack, but I have something else in mind at tight end, and you can probably guess what it is. So let's do Tajay Spears. Let's see here. Other news that has happened today, in case you missed it. Noah Fant, a Cincinnati Bengal. Before you run out and go full Darren Waller on Noah Fant, let's pump the brakes and remember this was a player who has done Zippo in his NFL career, was frankly not that good in college, but went to the tight end factory at Iowa and was big, fast, strong, looked like Tarzan. Unfortunately, mostly played like Jane, and has continued to do so in the NFL. And we've been wish casting Noah Fant for a long time. And will he touch the field for the Bengals? It's possible. It's definitely possible. Do I want to bet on him for fantasy? Absolutely not. What does this mean for Mike Gesicki? Absolutely nothing. Mike Gesicki is functionally not a tight end. So just want to reiterate that. If you're worried about your Mike Gesicki exposure, or is he might fall, the fact that Gesicki is unimpacted does not mean that the market won't dock him for this signing, because he is similar to what we were talking about before. He is labeled as a tight end, right? Mike Gesicki is labeled as a tight end, though functionally for NFL football teams, he plays wide receiver, slot receiver specifically. And for the Bengals, that's really what happened down the stretch for him when he started to Eric all got hurt, and they didn't really have any solid slot. Obviously, they can move Chase and T and stuff into the slot, but Yoshi is not particularly great there. Obviously, Jermaine Burton hadn't come along. We'll see if Jermaine Burton does come along. Mike Gesicki ended up being kind of their best solution out of the slot, and he was solid, I think, pretty solid. And then they re-signed him on a multi-year contract in Cincinnati, which I thought was actually a little bit shocking, but Burrow was pushing for Gesicki. And so Noah Fant is going to be competing with Drew Sample for like the blocking role, tight end 2, tight end 3, whatever we want to call it. I think Gesicki is more competing with the wide receivers and a little bit the tight ends, right? He's not like never going to play in line, but generally speaking, they are a different role on the team. And Noah Fant, the name, carries more value than Noah Fant, the game. It always has, but definitely now. The Seahawks just had absolutely no use for him, and then drafted a rookie in the second round and let Noah Fant go for nothing. It's like when an employer just like pays you to go away, generally not a great sign for your talents as an employee. And I think that's ultimately the Noah Fant story here. That was an unfortunate failed NFL career for Noah Fant, and I don't think it's going to change, even being on the offensive machine that is the Cincinnati Bengals. Does reaching still make sense, or to follow up from the question before, does reaching still make sense, or is it better to just be in a room where someone else is doing it? I think reaching still makes sense, because you still have to I want to build the portfolio that I want to build. I don't want my portfolio to be dictated by others. That's the whole. You can have times where you get fallers yourself, but you only get so many drafts, and you can't predict it all. Like, you can't predict when rooms are going to give you fallers. So are you just going to take guys at ADP and never get certain combinations of players that you would really like to have, all because the room didn't give it to you? Or you want to make sure that you get some of those particularly advantageous players to put together? Okay, the question now is, Ramondre, this is just really honestly painful, this draft. It's a nice price on Ramondre, though. So I'm up to 5 wide receivers, so we're definitely going to have to start hitting, or up to 5 running backs with Genty, Achane, and Chuba. So that might be at wide receiver. I'm just going to go get Bryce now. It makes the most sense. Double buy, smother. All right, week 14 is going to suck for this team. Week 14 is going to suck for this team. We'll decide later if we want to try to fill that week 14 gap, or play it for a 0 and try to make up the ground, make up those 15 to 20 points over the course of the season. We shall see. But so far through that's through 12 rounds. We started, as mentioned, we're drafting players only. The rule for this draft is only from losing teams last year. Teams with losing records in 2024 is the rule that I have to draft by today. So we started with Ashton Jeanty and Devon Achane, partly because when I looked at it, now what I have learned since is that there's also a real lack of wide receiver firepower on the bad team. So we're going to see how that goes. But the later running backs looked at first glance, going through the losing teams, looked rather sketchy. Tight end was a bit iffy as well. So we went Jeanty, Achane, Kittle to start. Then we took T-Mac in the 4th, Chuba in the 5th to build out a little Panthers stack. Jawan Jennings in the 6th, obviously had George Kittle. So then we stacked the 49ers with Brock Purdy, Michael Pittman, and Rashid Shaheed to stay a little bit on track with some wide receivers. And then Tyjae Spears, Ramondre falls about a round. I almost took Ramondre in the 10th. He falls all the way back around in the 11th. I pick 131 and then just close out the Bryce. And Bryce is not going to come back to me. As you see, Penix and Lawrence go off the board immediately after I pick. I didn't want to. I obviously could draft Cam Ward with Tyjae, Tua with Achane, or Geno with Jeanty. It's not my preference, and I built out more of a big bet on Carolina, so I want to make sure that I get Bryce Young on that team. But we're sitting 2, 5, 4, 1. 2, 5, 4, fum. What is it? Fee, 5, 4, fum? Yeah, 2, 5, 4, fum. That's what this start is. But yeah, this is a great question on the it's a delicate balance of, you want to get unique teams, you want to build out, find, how I like to think about it is, like, not every unique combo do you have to seek it out. And we all have different preferences on, right? Like, do you like Brian Thomas Jr., or do you like Amon-Ra St. Brown, or do you like Drake London, or do you like AJ Brown, or do you like Brock Bowers there, or do you like whatever? But then once you kind of decide some of the guys that are your core, the core of your core assets, as we've called them, the core of your season is kind of built around some of this stuff. Then I start there and start to trickle down. All right, what's not being done with those guys, right? Like, I still want to have Jamar Chase, right? The easiest spots to, air quotes, get unique without giving up much are at the turns. But do I want to sacrifice all my Jamar Chase to get unique teams? I don't personally. So then what do? Do I just keep on trucking along and pray to God someone gives me a faller that I get a unique team with Jamar Chase? Because there's so much overlap, especially on the left side of the board, around Jamar Chase and such. Or do I manufacture some of it? I will manufacture some of it. Then, hope is not a strategy, is what I would say. Hope is not a strategy. God. Oh, there is Thielen. Of course, Thielen and Pop Douglas just smacking me right in the face. Awful. I kind of think Pop makes sense on this team, though. So does Wandale. But I'm not fucking doing it. Don't ask me. Nick Saban, .gif. I am, thank God. Thank you, AJ Sports. Thank you for not making me. I got called out by a guy in the YouTube comments for that time that I drafted Wandale. I'm taking Xavier Legette, Pop Douglas, and Xavier Legette. I'll be honest. I don't hate this team. The wide receiver firepower is not awesome. But Pop kind of blends in, right? Pop and Pittman and these kind of boring ass wide receivers do serve a bit of a purpose. I think Shaheed. I probably need to draft more. Rashid Shaheed. I think Legette, obviously, on a big Panthers bet. A big Panthers bet is pretty sick for the purpose of this team. Yes, this is the problem. Week 14 is going to suck. So we're gonna see if we can't juice up. That's what happens when you build around two week 14 teams, Panthers and 49ers. So right now we have Pittman and Shaheed in in week 14, Pittman and Shaheed are, but we have Genty and Achane, right? That's the other thing. Week 14 is not going to be awesome, given my two stacks, my two big bets are week 14 bye teams. But my first round pick and my second round pick, and my sixth, and my like eighth round pick and such. It's okay. And now this is a great example of, I don't worry much about the buys, probably relative to what other people do, because as we talk about all the time, if you have one down week, you lose points in that week, but you have a loaded team, more loaded than your opponents in every other week. So let's just say you lose 50 points in that week to your opponents. Just on it, I'm just throwing numbers at the wall. You lose 50 points. Okay, there's 17 total weeks. So you have 16 weeks to make that back. If you gain 3 points in those other weeks per week, right? Just 3. Just by having a slightly better team in 16 weeks, sacrificing a worse team in the 1 week. Doesn't that seem, the math shakes out, right? That seems fine to me. We're breaking even. Now, if you just hit a couple of appropriate spikes, right? The Niners and the Panthers blend together perfectly in those non-week 14 weeks. You can gain it all back and then some and lap the field. So it's not ideal. I'm not seeking out these kinds of things, but I also think it's very easy to see how it goes perfectly fine. But we as a community, another thing that can be exploitable, people won't draft these guys together, right? Think about that. If we're talking about finding ways without reaching and without just hope, right? Like I said, hope is not a strategy. Without just hoping that something good happens to us by a faller, and without maybe reaching too far or too often, what's one way? Players are naturally paired together less frequently when their buys overlap, especially the two quarterbacks, right? And the two tight ends, because our opponents are afraid to death of having their onesie positions, quarterback and tight end, overlap in that buy, especially on drafters. Underdog, you might see it a little bit more because people understand, like in Best Ball Mania, right? DraftKings, Millie, whatever, people understand a little bit, at least the sharper players or whatever, understand that, really the playoffs are what matter. They'll still run away a little bit from quarterback, I think, overlapping buys, but tight end isn't as bad. But on drafters, where every week counts the same, there goes A Rich, that's funny. People definitely are very fearful of the overlapping buys. So there's a way to lean into it and just say, look, it's not going to matter. The winner 2 years ago, was it either 2 or 3 years ago? The winner of the drafters main event, this not this tournament, but this site, their big flagship tournament, won with Jalen Hurts and Zach Wilson as his quarterbacks. Zach Wilson notably didn't add any points. It was the equivalent of a Jalen Hurts, a solo Jalen Hurts team. Okay, let's. Oh hell, Diami. I got to think about whether I do Thornton or Alec Pierce on this team, but I'm definitely doing Diami. Diami is like a linchpin of these teams. Let's just take a peek at the run. Just see how it goes. So he goes Ford and Zach Ertz. I have to decide if I'm taking. So if I take Pierce, that gives me that Colt. Like I have Genty. So Thornton, as you see, lighting up in orange. Pierce and Thornton both lighting up there. I'm pretty sure Pierce is the correct answer here. If Anthony Richardson happens to be, air quotes, starting, can you imagine betting on Anthony Richardson making it all the way to week 14 as a starter? That sounds terrible. But better for Alec Pierce, most likely. And now I have him and Pittman, so it's kind of like who do the Colts play in week 14? Let's see. Week 14, the Colts play. Please be good. Oh, the Jags. There we go. Colts Jags in week 14. Damn, they play in week 14 and week 17. At Jacksonville in week 14. Colts Jags to the rescue. Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, De'Ami Brown, baby, coming to save this team in week 14. This team isn't bad. Week 14 might be rough. We shall find out. I really need to get all these teams into get a special note in Draft IQ or something. I'll have to reach out to our tech wizard behind the scenes hacker and see if I can get all these wheel drafts, like some special indicator, so I can go back and see, during the season, go back and see like just how bad did the jersey number team or just how bad did the all NFC West team do, because probably bad, but I don't know. And I'm not going to like individually dig them up. I guess I should. I probably should. It wouldn't take that much work. While we are waiting, a friendly reminder that if you could hit the like button, it would be absolutely much appreciated. And if you drop a comment on yesterday's video or today's video when we're done, reminder that you can get entered into tomorrow. So tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm live at 10 a.m. Eastern drafting best ball teams. And on Fridays, we give away not one, not two, but 3 different tickets to the Drafters main event. So the $20 tournament on Drafters. And to get entered, all you have to do is drop a comment. I grab your name from your comment, put it onto a different wheel. And we spin the wheel and 3 different folks get tickets. And I make sure we figure out how to sync up right after the show. You do not have to be there to win. You can drop your comment, watch the video later, see if you won or not, and hit me up in Discord or something afterwards. So you do not have to be there. It is going to, this is good. It is going to feel bad for us, for Best Ball saying he's in this draft, if we lose to your gimmick team. And that's the thing. Some of the rules are a little bit silly, which we're trying to have some fun. Not everything. We don't have to debate 3 quarterbacks. He says, as he debated 3 quarterbacks earlier. We don't have to debate 3 quarterbacks on every single show. We don't have to argue about should this guy rise or fall. We don't have to argue about we can have a little bit of fun occasionally too. That's the point of the Thursday show. A little bit more casual, a little bit more fun, with some unique rules. Draft some teams that I would not normally draft, but try to make them into good teams. And I think that's what we're doing here, is taking this team that, a bunch of losing players doesn't seem awesome, but can we build a winner? Can we build a winner that way? We'll find out. And the greatest part of it is when this team's, knock on wood, probably not going to finish last. And so drafting from a rule and being able to make fun of all you people that I beat is like a huge perk of these drafts, right? It's a win-win for me. Oh, it was just a rule draft that I had to do. They forced me into it. The wheel forced me. Or, I made money on this team, suckers. Yeah, I think we're just going to draft a whole shitload of wide receivers on this team. However, what I am just going to do here, I'm going to go get Harold Fannin right now. Sorry for ruining his ADP, everyone. But I'm just going to go get Harold Fannin right now, because that will make my life quite a bit easier. Calvin Austin, no. Wicks, no. Ray McLeod, yuck. Why did they keep smacking these guys right in my face on these loser teams? Coker, good God. KLS, I cannot do. Boutte, I cannot do. Or Boutte, I can do. Whittington, I cannot do. So I guess Malik Washington it is, huh? Hey, Fitz, I got HN on the team. I need to find some receivers on these shit teams. It's a lot more thin back here than I thought it was going to be. Giants, Bears, Falcons, no. Panthers, no. Saints, gross. Okay, I did Dolphins. Jets. Josh Reynolds, no. Patriots would be Boutte. Colts would be A.D. Mitchell. Jags would be Parker Washington. Okay, Titans. Is Io Manor gone? Probably. I assume Io Manor is gone. Yep. Where the hell did he go? Blank. Holy hell. Pick 168. Erik Io Manor? Had Cam Ward. Okay. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this. Chris, I love you. Undrafted rookie free agents. He has a teammate who Chimere Dike was drafted before Erik Io Manor even, and the Titans prioritized Dike in the 4th round of the NFL draft. They did not even care enough to draft Xavier Restrepo. I understand he was teammates with Cam Ward, and I understand we thought he was better than he actually is, than the NFL thought that he is. But this Xavier Restrepo stuff is nonsense. I'll eat a hat if Xavier Restrepo is like a awesome Titans wide receiver. And see, so UDFAs, he says, so hard to bet on. But then you get Arian Foster's. But Arian Foster's a running back. So much easier for a running back to, right? There's only so many drafted. There are talented running backs who don't get drafted. And I'm not saying Xavier Restrepo isn't talented. I'm just saying it's like, yeah, I owe a hat already, by the way. There's plans to eat the hat on show. The next Puka. This is so goddamn disrespectful to Puka. First of all, Puka was drafted in the 5th round. Second of all, Puka was absolutely elite when he was on the field in college. The only problem for Puka was injury. Xavier Restrepo ran a million routes at Miami. And like the counting stats are okay, but he wasn't that good. And we've made Xavier Restrepo into something that he isn't, all because I think it's fun. He landed in a spot where the Titans wide receivers are bad. And or certainly the depth chart is wide open. And then of course he happens to be with this college teammate. So it's fun. It's a fun story. It's a very cool story. But oh my gosh, Kai says Van Jefferson is the sleeper. He is a sleeper for sure. So you're drafting him? Me drafting Xavier Restrepo? Absolutely fucking not. I'm not drafting Xavier Restrepo. I might draft Chimere Dike. The guy they took in the 4th round, the first wide receiver the Titans drafted in this NFL draft that literally never, ever, 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 ever gets picked in best ball drafts ever. Xavier Restrepo gets drafted more than Chimere Dike. I know. It's a fun thing to talk about. Zip it, Charles. Don't blow up my spot here. There's some guys you're listing that I want to draft. Well, one guy. Let's see. I don't honestly hate Kayshon Boutte, but Boutte. I always say Boutte. I struggle with his name. It pisses me off. I'm a stickler for making sure I pronounce people's names correctly, but I really screw up Kayshon Boutte all the time because it doesn't look like booty. And I've heard a lot of people mispronounce it, like back when he was at LSU as well. Parker Washington, I don't totally hate. See a lot. I'm also learning a lot of the guys I like late wide receivers are on teams that won games last year. not these losers that we drafted here. I can't wait for this one to be over. Just drafting. There goes Jermaine Burton. Okay, yeah, I'm taking Kevontae Turpin, but now I got to find somebody else here. Did we say the Seahawks are on this list? No, the Seahawks were a winning record. Fuck me, man. Pub means we are in deep down here. I mean, Jalen Coker, I guess, but I really don't want another week 14. I'm going to put Booty on here and just check this out again. Maybe Parker Washington and do I might do Parker Washington and do or Chimere. Let's take him. Come on. if we're going to talk about it, don't just talk about it, be about it. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it. Chimere DK in the last round. The loser draft. This is what they call a bunch of freaking losers. 20 losers all together on one team. Obviously, we discussed the week 14 stuff, so I don't want to get into that anymore. But we started what I thought would be easier to get the wide receivers on these teams later. I'm not sure that was true. It's just possible, though. It was more difficult to get any player on one of these losing teams. Did I? Hold on. Oh, I autoed Booty. That's okay. I'm fine with it. Honestly, if Chimere DK versus Parker Washington versus Kayshon Boutte decides this team, I think we are in trouble. And we were probably in trouble as it is, but we were really in trouble if that is the deciding point of this team. But Brock Purdy and Bryce Young. So we made pretty sizable 49ers and Panthers bets, which actually I'm quite okay with. Took Genty and Achane at the 1-2 turn. Chuba Hubbard 59th overall. Tyjae Spears and Ramondre Stevenson closed out the running back room. Let's do the tight ends first because the wide receivers is it's a list. It's a list. George Kittle and Harold Fannin, probably my favorite tight end pairing. I don't know. Pick an elite tight end with Harold Fannin would be my favorite combination of players. At wide receiver, we drafted 11 of them suckers because most of them are not very good. Teteroa McMillan, Jawan Jennings, Michael Pittman, Rashid Shaheed, Demario Pop Douglas, Xavier Legette, De'Ami Brown, Alec Pierce, Malik Washington, Kavontae Turpin, and Kayshon Boutte at wide receiver. Honestly, I don't mind it. I really don't mind it. If Genty and Achane rock and the Panthers and 49ers are good fantasy offenses, like this will be fine. It will be fine. Obviously, going to really need some luck amongst the Pittman, Shaheed, Pop, right? De'Ami, Pierce, etc. Group of wide receivers, but I really don't. It's really not bad. It's really not that bad. Let's pull up the wheel again. I forgot to remove what was the can only draft team that had a losing record. There we go. Let's remove that guy and let's spin the wheel again and draft again. I should have removed that other week 17 one too. Oh. Triplets. You must draft 3-man stacks with your QB. So this one's pretty straightforward. Have to draft. Obviously, I'm going to draft 2 or 3 if I would like. 3 quarterbacks. But when I draft that quarterback, I have to draft at least 2 players to go with the quarterback from his team, right? Stack up. Triplets, you must draft 3-man stacks with each of your QBs. This one's pretty easy, and I do it quite often anyway. I think it's particularly good on drafters. So let's go back over to drafters. See if we can't fill another $3. Let's see what the 20 is sitting at. Let's do it. Let's just do a $3 on drafters as well. Need 8 to fill. Yeah, this was hoping you would get my only draft players on projected winning teams rule from Mac. It says, so does that mean QB plus 3 other players? Let's just do that. I don't know what it means. I didn't ask the person who submitted the rule. But basically, we'll onslaught 2 offenses, which is what I would classify. Quarterback plus 3 of his teammates would be kind of like an onslaught, a mega stack, of whatever the hell you want to call it. We'll do that. So the quarterback is the parent, and the quarterback has triplets is the rule here. So we're gonna get a big old family of a couple teams here. We only need 4 here for anyone that would like to join us. Charles sees a Geno stack. Let me think about that. The Raiders. Why Geno? That's an interesting one because the Raiders have very few players that get drafted, actually. No, the backup running backs don't get drafted. Genty is a 1-2 turn pick. Brock Bowers is a second round pick. So 2 of their guys go in the first 2 rounds, and then you just have Jacoby Myers, Jack Besh, and Dante Thornton, right? Myers and both rookies. Well, I don't draft Jacoby Myers, so you may be waiting a while for the Raiders onslaught here. Stafford and Bryce Young says Michael would be fun. I do like the Rams stuff. The Panthers are a pretty good bet for this, by the way. They're pretty easy to load up on. Obviously, when your first pick doesn't go until the 4th, when Chuba doesn't go until the 5th or 6th, you can take Dowdle later if you don't get Chuba. They have a million wide receivers that get drafted, as we just saw, Thielen and Coker and Leggett, Jatavian Sanders. Somebody might draft Hunter Renfrow, I guess, that's out there. Jordan Love is a good option. You can get Jacobs, you can not get Jacobs, but Kraft and all the wide receivers are awesome. This is a good one. I like this one. Thinking through who to I only take Jacoby when AOC starts at QB. Max as the Titans. Titans are a great one. Easily get Calvin Ridley is the most expensive Titan on the board. So it's very easy to get those guys. Mr. Nick says, hoping Shaheed can cement himself this year to be a consistent weekly scorer rather than a spiky scorer. I think he can. I think Rashee Shaheed, assuming he's healthy, though I'm not sure what I would classify as the main concern for Rashee Shaheed, because there's absolutely 2 major concerns for Rashee Shaheed. One being his health, right? Towards ACL last season. What does that mean? Of course, get the 101. So that is nice. What does the injury mean? He seems fine. And so far in camp, all indications are it's all good for Rashee Shaheed. So that's good. So that's how I'm operating, as if Rashee Shaheed is fine from a health perspective. So that was hurdle number 1. Hurdle number 2 is, unfortunately, the Saints, the ecosystem, the quarterback play, the overall offensive scoring, not good. Hopefully that leads to more volume for him, which would help this consistent weekly score that you're talking about. It's going to be difficult, I think, for him to be consistent on the Saints, though I don't think talent is the issue for Rashee Shaheed. And so at his price, if we do get a little bit more of the boom bust thing, that's fine. I think that's totally fine. I think he's a pretty good pick in that range. Like once Keon, Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins, those guys are off the board, and he probably should be in that group, in that mix amongst those guys from a talent perspective. I was just gonna say, I got the 101, and the easiest one to build from the 101 is, of course, the Cincinnati Bengals. It's the stone cold chalk. But I'll also tell you, I'm not doing it. So quit asking. That Saban soundbite is just so good. It lives rent free in my head. I understand that folks would be interested in me doing this whole chase thing, but I'm not doing it. I'm going to pull Jahmyr Gibbs up. It's running back day. Yesterday was Chiefs day, Travis Kelce day. Today is self-improvement Thursday, and running back day, apparently, on Spike Week. Yeah, unexpected. But here we are. Bijan still goes. Chris is sitting second, and he still takes Bijan. Excuse me, Bijan. Chris still takes Bijan. So the 103, T. Cal gets Jamar Chase. How many times has Jamar Chase gone 103? Not very often. Congrats to T. Cal 23. We're skipping the Cincy start. Broncos are a good one. Broncos are a very good one, actually. It's a great shout. I love the late. This is probably a pretty good opportunity to get the Broncos. As you guys know, I love RJ Harvey. and I love J.K. Dobbins. Two of my favorite running backs to draft in all of basketball. It's two of my favorite, like, super late wide receivers, Troy Franklin, Devon Vele, play for the Broncos. I like Bo Nix fine, but I don't take him that much. So that would be a good option here. Evan Ingram is whatever. Pat Bryant, Marvin Mims, I don't take a ton, but I like. More so Bryant at the price, though the price is a little bit tricky on Pat Bryant too. But the Broncos are a pretty fun one that I don't think would initially come to mind. I'm thinking about doing the Lions here. Obviously, that's why I pulled Gibbs up. I was going to pull up Gibbs or CD to the 101. Michael says on the Shaheed point, the Saints defense is bad, so they 100%. They should have to throw a lot, which is and you never know what you're getting from Chris Olave. So theoretically, it's a pretty good. There you go. Ivan says take Shaheed. Shaheed is the parent. The triplets are the three quarterbacks. Shuck, Rattler, and Hayner. I think that's fair. Mark asks, is Gesicki still draftable with Fanther? Yes, absolutely. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I'm not worried about Noah Fant for Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki's going to be just fine. They ultimately play different positions. Gesicki, if you recall, when Gesicki was in Miami, they franchise tagged him, and he tried to petition to be a wide receiver. He pulled the Jimmy Graham. Because he is. he really is. Okay, we did Gibbs. I could do the no, McBride's gone. G. 33% of my Gibbs teams have Lamar, but I kind of want to do Lamar. I'm going to do Lamar. God, it is running back day. This is making me sick to my stomach. I'm going to have to draft 0 running back teams the rest of the day to make up for this. But a team that I am interested in from this perspective, this onslaught, is actually the Ravens. The Ravens are one of my favorite teams to draft because despite being an elite offense, they're extremely affordable. If you just go get Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers is in the 50s. Obviously, Derrick Henry is a second-round pick. Zay Flowers is in the 50s. Isaiah Likely is someone who on drafters, right, in cumulative scoring, which is what drafters is, similar to the marathon on Underdog. I'm dinging Isaiah Likely quite a bit in this particular format. I'm dinging him in all formats, but I'm definitely going to ding him more in the cumulative scoring, which makes Mark Andrews obviously even more valuable in this format. I think Rashad Bateman is at a fine price, and then there's other cheap options. I'm not a DeAndre Hopkins guy, but if I really needed Tez Walker in the last round, sure. But then Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell is one of my favorite running backs to draft at the end of drafts anyway. And if I have a scenario where I have Lamar without Derrick Henry, I really like both Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. And the passing game is an awesome one to onslaught here. Just onslaught the Ravens passing game. And if, there's Derrick Henry, of course, could get hurt, which is wheels up for the passing game. But Derrick Henry takes a step back. It's just a little bit older. Or the defense, they suffer some injuries. There's several different paths. The Ravens passing game just being much more valuable than we expected to be. So they're one of my favorite kind of onslaughts to do without Derrick Henry. Yes, Mark says, Gesicki is he's just stuck in a tight end's body. So they've always put him at tight end, but he's never really been a tight end. He wants to be known as what he really is, a wide receiver. But the NFL ain't letting that happen. Texans are a pretty good one too, for sure. I think you would really want to have Nico, but especially now with this weird mix-in stuff, you can get some You can get some different combinations. Michael says Bajan should start a mustard company. He has a partnership with a mustard company. He leaned all the way into it, despite the fact that that's not how you say his name. He just leaned in. I respect it. Go get your money, dude. Especially as a running back. Hell yeah, dude. Get every dollar you can. Those careers ain't long, and they don't make as much money as the other positions do. If somebody wants to call you, pronounce your name the wrong way, and give you a bunch of money to do it, hell yeah, I'm in for that. I joked in the Discord that people every day, literally every day, my name is Erik with a K, no C, and people call me Erik, and I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. But it's like, people misspell my name, and people don't know how to say my last name, or certainly not spell it. So like, it is what it is. So Bajan was thinking the exact same thing. Just let them be and go get my money. I'm gonna do the Sutton thing actually, and then obviously take Zay to go with Lamar. Sutton, I don't know if I'm going to do the Broncos onslaught, but this at least gives me the opportunity to do so. I could have done Ridley. Of course, I'm not fucking onslaughting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Never, ever, ever. Not going to happen. So I'm not. I have 0% DK Metcalf, as you can see here on your screen. Devontae Smith, I love, and I have a nice big bag of Devontae Smith across all formats. I don't have very much Calvin Ridley, so he was in play for me there. I just prefer Sutton to Ridley. Could have pulled up Travis Hunter as well. Done the Jags. Obviously no BTJ, but could have done the Jags. Patriots. A lot of options. A lot of options here. But we're starting off the Ravens. Is this JMO's new ADP? I thought he was a 5th rounder on Underdog. He will sometimes fall to the early 5th, but generally late 4th on Drafters. This is not his new ADP, but he is more of a mid 4th-ish pick, depending upon the room that you're in. You can certainly still get him at the 4 or 5 turn, but the days of 5th round Jameson Williams are gone. DraftKings, though, if you're interested in getting a little bit more of a dip on, dude, this tier that we just went through of wide receiver, JMO, T-Mac, Devontae Smith, Zay Flowers, like those guys on DraftKings are just in the 5th. All of them. Like every draft. So if you like those guys and you think they're good picks in the 5th round, I have a site for you. And we love our friends at Drafters, but the folks on Drafters are too sharp to let that happen. DraftKings.com. Good spot for those wide receivers. You could just draft one QB on this team to make it easier on you. But we don't want easy. We're trying to have some fun. Not trying to click the easy button. Mr. Nick says, I think we see Andrews bounce back this year's second half. I think so too. Andrews, I take Andrews. Let's see what my Andrews exposure is. Yeah, so only 3% on Drafters. So that's going to shoot way up. I think that's bad. I liked likely the price on likely a little bit more than this price on Andrews. And previously there was guys who went around Andrews that I liked a little bit more. That is drying up a bit, especially on Drafters. So, Andrews is going to be someone that rises again, specific to the format a little bit more, though I think he's a pretty good pick all around. I think Andrews is set for and he was pretty good. Like he was much better last year than I think people remember because the slow start, right, with the weird week 1 and of course the catastrophic drop in the playoffs. But do I double dip the line? I could do the Lions thing. This would accomplish the Lions stuff. But I'm going to pass on the Lions thing and do Buka. I have Gibbs and JT. I just don't really need to do that Lions stuff here. Downs or Golden. Let's do Downs alongside JT. Bet on the Colts a little bit. Take the Colts' best 2 players. Get some more wide receiver firepower. You start when Sutton's your wide receiver 1. I think you should stay on the wide receiver track, as tempting as it was to do the Lions, to build out that Lions onslaught thing. 2 of them, like, I don't have Amon-Ra or J-Mo. It's a little bit less powerful version. Goff with the 2 running backs and the tight end doesn't feel as good. And I am set now for some other, right? I'm obviously set for the Colts, which is not something that was originally in the cards. Not sure how much I love an Anthony Richardson onslaught, but it's at least open that door. And then, Knicks with Sutton, Baker. Baker's been coming back to this spot more. Yeah, 98.5 ADP now. So could do something with Baker, Rashad White, McMillan, Cade Otton. Bunch of options now, I think. Bunch more options. Now, what do you think is a fair price for Rashee Rice on Underdog? I've been snagging him in the mid to late 4th recently. So what I've done with him is it's the price is not totally indicative of how I feel about where I would take him. I have not been taking him much, mainly because I think a steeper fall is coming. I could be wrong about that, but my prediction is that a steeper fall is coming because news is coming at some point. When, I'm not sure, but I suspect that news is coming on Rashee Rice. I think the Chiefs would be pushing for news before the season starts. I think Rashee would probably prefer the news before the season starts as well. So I've been cautious on that, because I think we'll be able to get a better price. I don't think once we get news, I don't think it's going to change. I mean, if it's like an 8-game suspension or something, it will change what my expectation is. But, I suspect we're going to get 4 games or something like that. On drafters, that's a little bit worse, right? Drafters in the marathon, that's a little bit worse. But you asked on Underdog. How I'm sort of thinking about it is there's a tier break to me. Like we were just talking about the J-Mo tier. So Jameson Williams, I know he went higher in this draft, but like Jameson Williams, Zay, Devontae Smith, Cortland Sutton, for me, Travis Hunter. After Hurts and Daniels, after like that group, once we get into Metcalf and Waddle and Ridley and Rome, once we get into those guys, then that's when I'm, so that's in some drafts that could be pick 60, and in some drafts that could be pick 51 or something, depending upon how your room goes. But after that group of guys, after the Pickens, after the J-Mos, after the Devontae Smiths, after the Zay Flowers, after those guys, and I'm trying to get more Travis Hunter right now, so Travis Hunter is in that bucket as well, the elite quarterbacks, etc. After that is when I'm willing to dip my toes back in on Rashee Rice. Yeah, they're going. That's my prediction. Again, like Underdog specific, BBM specific, whatever. Like the market is just a little bit nonsensical. The expectation right now at his ADP is probably like a 4-game suspension, and then he'll get a 4-game suspension and he'll fall. And it's like, so what the fuck were you think? What did you think was going to happen? Why was he going there before? But that's what happens. Right? That's exactly what happens. We know news is coming, and then even when it hits, they fall again, because it is the psychology of the best ball space. This is a great point from Bernie in something like this $3 on drafters, where it's going to close. It's going to close, right? That's another, like maybe the like one of the Underdog tournaments where it's going to be full before we get any Rashee Rice news. So Best Ball Mania versus like the Husky or whatever, this $3 on drafters versus the $20 on drafters, I would treat them very differently. If you want to get in, just take him, whatever, pick, 52 or something like that, I think that makes a ton of sense, because who cares? You're not competing with teams that are going to get him much cheaper. But in the $20 right around BBM, when that fall comes, competing with who this asshole took Bo Nix. What the okay. I guess we're gonna do the Baker. We're gonna do the Baker one. And then Andrews. Hell yeah. Oh, this is fine. This is fine. We're good. We're good. Don't worry, guys. We're good. I also could do the Colts thing and pull up Tyler Warren. Okay, hold on. Let's take Andrews. I can take Baker and then get Rashad, Otten, McMillan, Tucker, whatever. Or I can pull up Tyler Warren and turn this into an AR Indy. That's kind of interesting, guys. I won't lie to you. Let's do that. Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. We drafted a bunch of players we didn't love, including Colts, on the last draft. Let's have a little bit of fun. I take a decent clip of Baker, and I don't love the Bucks onslaught without one of Evans or Godwin and Bucky, right? So the Bucks onslaught, no Evans, no Godwin, no Bucky. I love Ibuka. I mean, I love Ibuka, but I don't if I'm onslaughting the team, I don't love it with like Rachaad White, Otten, and Ibuka. Whereas this with the Colts gives me the Colts 3 best players, double dip tight end there. Andrews Warren is a great. I love that combination of guys. I'm obviously already very strong at running back with Gibbs and JT, so I'm into this. Yes, Roni Baloney, which is a great username. Sell the news, buy the dip. Amen, brother. Are you pushing up Andrews much? Yeah, I am going to specifically on the cumulative scoring, so drafters and the marathon, I'm going to push Andrews up more. I'm not going to move him too much. I'm going to move him up in, like regular underdog, regular DraftKings rankings. I guess I should say in the eliminator, Andrews becomes very valuable now, I think. That kind of thing. So in format specific, Andrews is definitely moving up. It's just he's moving up more in stuff that the early season is more important. Best Ball Mania and such, I suspect likely will be back and likely will be fine. Though I'm not currently catching the falling knife with likely. I am waiting to see what kind of sick value we can get on Isaiah Likely here shortly. But I am moving Mark Andrews up 100%. And currently targeting him. Like he is a target right now. I go through at this time, this happened all summer. And I think this is one of the things I probably believe in the most is when you're drafting, there's always something you're targeting at that point in time, right? It's best when we get to training camp because you run into Mark Andrews is a value because Isaiah Likely got hurt. Maybe you think, right? Rashee Rice is a value. Ibuka is a value before he continues to rise. Amarian Hampton is a value before he starts to rise. Woody Marks before, some more Mixon news drops. Tank Bigsby is a value because the market hasn't adjusted to the fact that he's been the lead back so far in camp from the Jags. There's stuff that I'm entering drafts because I want to get that versus I'll just take that guy, I just, let's see, on this specific team, it was I did have a plan of attack on a lot of this because there's a rule to this draft, but just entering a draft and just whatever happens in that draft is not how I like to play it because you're probably drafting once training camp comes around because there's something that you think is targetable. And I put Andrews on that list right now. 2 mules in a cart. Just got here. Would love to do a mini with a celebrity. Are you doing another mini? Thanks. Unfortunately, I'm not doing another mini. I got to walk the dogs and get to the gym after this and then do some rankings updates. But we'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow for 2 more drafts. Might see if we can triple dip it and do a underdog, DraftKings, and a drafters. But unfortunately, we're only going to get these two in today. But thank you for joining. If you drop a comment after the show, and you can win a free ticket, and then we'll draft together. Again, if you've just joined, every Friday I'm giving away some free tickets on drafters, and to enter, you have to drop a comment on one of our videos. You do not have to be present for the right. So you just got here. If you aren't able to make it tomorrow, you can still win the free ticket. I don't want to exclude the people who are unable to join live. Oh boy, the ETN fall is happening, huh? Holy moly. God damn. Am I going to draft another Ramondre team? Yes. Ramondre. Oh, the Burden news is so sickening, but I think I have to take him on this team. I'm like almost certain I have to take him on this team. Burden, I should have known. This is another. I should take my own advice. It's like when you get into the Luther Burden business, as someone here from can only do drafters, live in Ontario. Well, you're in the right place. We do plenty of drafters, and we'll be doing a drafters tomorrow. We'll be doing a drafters tomorrow. Deal. So join us tomorrow. I'll put it at the end so that you can join. When you get into the Luther Burden business, I saw Luther Burden play in high school. He's incredible, by the way. He's from here. I loved him at Mizzou. I loved him at Eastside, and I was excited about him as a prospect. Of course, this past year at Mizzou, and so far in the Bears' tenure has not been great. He just got back to practice recently and has been lining up wrong. Jason said, "Is Burden looking good in camp? Is that the news?" The opposite. No, the opposite. It's only been a couple of practices, but Ben Johnson is a dick, is what I've learned. Okay, Ben Johnson speaks ill of his players. He's very hard on his players. I'm not sure that him and Luther Burden are going to mesh very, very well. Burden has some of the diva wide receiver in him. He has a lot of the diva wide receiver in him. And then he just got back to camp, and the time missed in OTAs and the first few days of camp. He's still getting up to speed on where to line up and, the playbook, essentially. And Ben Johnson doesn't love that. And he has been public about his displeasure with some of the Luther Burden mistakes, which is just like so silly. Other guys, other teams aren't just like relentlessly bashing. He reeks of Dennis Allen to me, Ben Johnson, so far. And I know some of our Lions brethren in the Discord, which of course you can join in the description, have been critical this summer of Ben Johnson, saying like, I don't think Ben Johnson was all he was cracked up to be. He's definitely a smart offensive coordinator, but there's lots of smart offensive coordinators. Like we thought Arthur Smith was a smart offensive coordinator. Remember what he was doing with Tennessee? He was a hot coaching name. Mike McDaniel, like wizard of the Shanahan tree. We've had Schottenheimer has bounced around, right? And Cliff Kingsbury has bounced around. And these guys are often failed head coaches. Mike McDaniel, Josh McDaniels was very similar to this. That's what Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen, and Josh McDaniels. He's giving off those kind of vibes right now. And it certainly could be a Burden problem, and it's not really a Ben Johnson problem. But there's also been a lot of other evidence as to Ben Johnson just being an asshole, quite frankly. And so I'm a little terrified of the Bears situation, and it's specifically Burden. But I think the price and the talent is just so good here. If he can get it going, if he can figure it out, and Ben Johnson is not like the world's biggest dickhead, then I think the price is silly, and certainly this team needs some upside swings at the wide receiver position. I do need. I got my Colts, but I do need another Raven to complete this onslaught challenge where my quarterback had triplets is the rule for this draft, and I must draft 3 of his weapons. Set myself up for Anthony Richardson, which I'm of course going to have to take a bit early. What's his ADP? 186. Okay. If one of you guys do it, we're gonna have a problem. If one of you guys try to troll me. The guy who took Bo Nix also took Jared Goff. Did he have any of those guys? Did he have any stacking partners? Nope. Just then took Ingram. Interesting. Ingram and Marvin Mims. I don't know how he's going to stack up Jared Goff, but nonetheless. Chris in the 102 next to me already planning out his snipes. All right. I said I didn't want to do the Bucks thing, and now Rashad is just staring me in the face. So that's funny. There is Pat Bryant. There is Jalen McMillan. There's Likely. That's funny. I'm going to take Rashad. And then, see, this is why we don't dabble in this wide receiver range. It's so bad, man. So bad. Let's go get my guy, Algier, here. Close to closing out the running back room. Then I have, obviously, the Ravens gentleman a little bit later. At least there's two of them. So that makes me feel a little bit better. That makes me feel a little bit better. Yes, thank you. C-Spout Run says, while you're here, if you can hit the like button, that would be much appreciated. Versaire says, have you heard what the players said about Bill Belichick? Edelman has some funny clips. Yeah, I mean, Belichick is a hardo, but like he earned it. You know what I mean? He also got he also it took him a while. It wasn't like Belichick wasn't Belichick immediately. And Belichick wasn't Belichick until he got Tom Brady, if we're being honest. So Belichick is also a bit of a unicorn. And like I said, is Caleb Williams Tom Brady? Seems doubtful. The vibes are just bad, dude. It doesn't mean it's over. It doesn't mean that the Bears won't be good. It doesn't mean I'm never gonna bet on the Bears. I'm just saying right now, the vibes are bad. They're very bad. Ben Johnson is for sure an asshole. And I don't think he's handling the head coaching job quite as well, but that's his own style. He knows, he's forgotten more about football this morning than I'll ever know. But, maybe he could use some guidance on how to handle particularly like maybe some volatile rookies in the media, some media training. He wasn't exactly the head of media for the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell's kind of got that on lockdown. All the Lions guys seem to love Aaron Glenn as like the guy they lost that was more impactful. And they're very sad to see Aaron Glenn go. Not so much Ben Johnson. So just like, it's more like let's file those things. Let's file all these things away. Because eventually where there's smoke, there's fire. And the smoke is starting a little bit with Ben Johnson. And we were all very excited. Me, the fantasy community, and still are, the fact that, the Bears, right, upgrade the offensive line. The coaching upgrade is massive, theoretically massive, onto Ben Johnson. So we're projecting a pretty big leap for all of their players. We've given Caleb Williams a pass for last year at this cost. We've given Rome Odunze a pass for last year. Frankly, we've given DJ Moore a pass. We've given Luther Burden a pass for last year at Mizzou. We've given DeAndre Swift a pass for his entire NFL career not being all that good. Basically because Ben Johnson is there. We've given it. So if Ben Johnson isn't all he's cracked up to be, the foundation of this entire Bears bet falls apart. So I'm monitoring. Like I said, monitoring how much smoke to see, if we just left the toast in the microwave a little too long or if the house is burning down, kind of a situation. What time does your stream start? Mornings around here are a little crazy. Dystopian, he says. Take care of mom who has Alzheimer's. Oh man, I'm so sorry. So sorry to hear that. And that's really awesome of you to take care of moms like that. I can't relate to the exact same thing, but I can relate a little bit to some family stuff. So huge respect and a huge hat tip to you for doing that. Turn mom into a spike weeker. We'll all enjoy our mornings together. I kid obviously, but 10 a.m. Eastern is when we start round these parts. Man, that is a steep. Isaiah Likely is fallen, gents. I'm just gonna go get Anthony Richardson right now because I'm not fucking around with you here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just take Justice Hill here because I'm also not messing around with that. Yes, I just took Justice Hill over Will Shipley. It happened. It happened. Looking at all those slows you have going on is giving me anxiety. How many are you in right now? All right, let's start scrolling. Ready? This is like the Price is Right, where the thing is the guy's climbing up the hill, to see if how far away you were from that number when you're trying to guess like the price of a car or whatever. This is that's Jeopardy. Right. Scrolling. And there you go. However many that is. A lot. A lot. We're in a lot of slows on drafters, but I find drafters to be by far the best platform for slow drafts, like bar none. So I do enjoy doing a lot of slows over here. Obviously, sometimes like in some of them, it'll take a tick for the fast draft room to fill. So it's yodeling. That's what it is. Thank you, Chris. I don't know why I couldn't place it. What the mountain climber thing from Price is Right was, but thank you. We'll yodel next time. I do a lot of slows on drafters. I'm doing a lot of slows this year. In total, I don't really know how many I'm in right now across all three sites, but I'm doing mostly underdog slows for non-NFL stuff like college football. I'm using the slows for college football and for like NBA and stuff. Drafters and DraftKings, I have a ton of slows. Why do you like slows on drafters versus underdog and essentially this kind of setup that they have here? I do a lot on desktop, but they also have this like pill, like you see the pills here across the top. It's also on your phone on the app. So admittedly, in the mornings and afternoons, so I make my slow draft picks 3 times a day. Sometimes you mix them in, right, when you like take a little break or whatever. Slow draft picks on the shitter or something. But in the morning when I wake up, in the afternoon at some time post lunch, and in the evening before bed, I do 3 sets of slow draft picks every day. And underdog is pretty miserable. It takes like 17 clicks to get in to find your slows. Then like to use the draft hacker is painful because you have to go into each individual draft room and that takes a click and then go back and a click. And there's a lot more clicking on underdog, and DraftKings has added this on desktop, has added this kind of the pill based stuff you see at the top, but on your phone, it does not have that. Like I said, I do mornings and afternoons are generally picked from my desktop, so I can use the draft hacker. Admittedly, at night before bed, it's not. I sometimes do just like I'm laying in bed and use my phone. But drafters has easily the best, in my opinion. Like it's really that at the top because you can so easily navigate between all of them. It's in chronological order, which DraftKings does not do. It's just they kind of nailed it. They kind of nailed it. You can easily see the board. You don't have the clicking back and forth to the board is pretty shitty on DraftKings and a little bit tedious on Underdog. So they just kind of nailed it, honestly. Yeah, did they add it on the phone? I couldn't remember. But either way, DK is just a little laggy and a little annoying with the way that they do the slows. I'm not trying to. This is not me a let's dunk on DraftKings show, because I like DraftKings much more than probably the average person does. It seems to get a lot of hate, and I don't really understand why DraftKings gets all of the hate that it does. But nonetheless, it does. Are you using the mobile hacker? The mobile hacker is great. I just use the desktop hacker, and admittedly, I'm in so many slows that the mobile hacker is not ultimately like kind of made for me from a functional perspective. It would just take me too much time with being in like 250 slows or whatever. I'm actually going to take Keaton here and then stick to two tight ends and hammer some wide receivers. Darius Slayton I haven't taken as much as one would think. How about a Darius Slayton team? Io Manor fits. So we have Sutton. Let's do Slayton. I could use a little. I could use a little Darius Slayton early season spike week chaperone stuff on this team with Ibuka, with Burden. Obviously, need some wide receiver firepower. The hope is that Ibuka and Burden and stuff can come out of the gates hot, specifically Ibuka with the Chris Godwin injury. But we'll take this team up to nine wide receivers, and I think blending in some of the veteran is helpful on this one. Yeah, the board. Michelle says the board on DK Mobile is painful. Yes, it is. DK gets hate because each draft is so unpredictable. Yeah, that's fair, but that's good for us. Like, people like love to tilt about like, oh, I got sniped on this thing or whatever, and it's like, if your competition is bad, that's a net positive for you. It's a net positive. Sure, sometimes in drafts, it's going to be unpredictable. You're going to get frustrated. But like, that happens on Underdog too. That happens on drafters. That happens everywhere. And at least I know that the ADP is bad. Like, so not even just the draft. The ADP, in my opinion, on DraftKings is just wrong. Like, straight up wrong. Like we just talked about, those 5th round wide receivers. Why the hell are all those guys going in the 5th round? It doesn't make any sense. That I want to draft in the places where the market is flat out wrong on prices. Then you combine it with the fact that, as you guys have said, as you guys have experienced, my opponents are worse. They're worse at this game. And I get 20 rounds to extrapolate that edge, right? So like, if the prices are wrong, I get more chances to extrapolate it, and a higher percentage of my opponents suck at the whole process of drafting best ball teams on DraftKings. Like, that seems like the great place to draft. I think the app, drafting on desktop there is great. I think drafting on the phone, there are imperfections, but it's really gotten a lot better over the years. Like, I think it gets hate just because, we become a little culty in the best ball space. People have their tribes, right? From a content creator perspective, people have tribes, and from a site, Underdog has done a good job of cultivating a tribe of people that just kind of blindly follow everything and support Underdog. And I get it. It's a great business model for them. But I think we as players shouldn't be avoiding some of these sites, like if we're truly trying to profit and we're trying to win at this game, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to have fun and win. And I have a lot of fun drafting on DraftKings because the teams I get there are fucking awesome. And sometimes I draft teams on Underdog that aren't so awesome. And I definitely draft teams on drafters that aren't so awesome. So I enjoy drafting awesome teams against bad players. That's, and there's plenty of good players there too, but there's just bad players on DraftKings. And I think everyone would agree. Multi-tabling fast. It's great for multi-tabling fast. The DK app. Yeah, Jason says going like 45 or 50 on DK regulars. I'm getting him at like 55. His ADP's now in the 50s, I think. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense why he goes there. Yeah, I didn't even mention him because it's inconceivable that he would go at that price. Nick says, I think eliminator drafts have been my favorite this cycle. The idea of 1v1 weekly potential just excites me. Yeah, see, I really loved the old format of eliminator, but I'm going to give in and hammer some eliminator drafts because I think it was really, really fun. It's a fun concept. Try to think about what wide receivers fit best here. That's funny. So Io Manor is still here, but I'm going to do... We're going to get crazy here and do we're just hammering the Broncos wide receivers. So the bet being, of course, Mims and Pat Bryant are the losers amongst the Denver wide receiver room. And given the fact that I need Denver, I need wide receiver kind of juice, just soaking it all up here, right? I got Lamar and this team. Richardson's going to play for at least most of the season. Gibbs, JT, Ramondre, Rashad White, Algier, like this running back room is loaded. You know, we've made the bet on Andrews and the Tyler Warren breakout, which I'm very comfortable with. So now let's just say the Denver Broncos wide receiver room is undervalued. That's the bet we made here. And then we can take one more flyer, right? We kind of blending again, like Sutton, Zay, Downs, right? Slayton, Franklin, when then, Abuka, Luther Burden, mixing in some like home run swings to a wide receiver room of 9 wide receivers. Every bad DK team you end up with because of strangeness, you get 4 great ones. Exactly. Like the strangeness I feel when I draft on DK is there's most of the time too many guys on the board that I think are great picks. Like that, right? You get to that 5th round of wide receiver, like that's the area that's just jumping out like crazy to me. Like from late 4th to whatever to like pick 60, so through the 5th round. I'm like, I want them all. I'm like, and so someone might say, well, why don't you pull one of them to the 4th round? I'm like, well, I love the guys that go in the 4th round too. Like the guys in the 4th round are too cheap. I like the guy, there's too many, like Derrick Henry goes too high and TK Metcalf goes too high. And like a lot of these guys just go too high, which leads to a lot of great prices on a lot of other guys. Like my biggest complaint is generally when I'm on the clock, I have too many players that I like on DraftKings. That's a pretty good complaint to have. If that's the worst thing that happens, I think we're going to be just fine. Best advice for someone going to DK who mostly drafts underdog and drafters. You're gonna love a lot of guys, like I just mentioned, but the biggest thing you'll run into, so because prices are bad on so many guys, don't be afraid to reach to like close out stacks, specifically with quarterbacks. Like you need that quarterback, pull them up, man. The rooms are the Wild West. If you set up a team that's based around the Jaguars, just take Trevor Lawrence at 115 or whatever. Just do it. You feel uncomfortable, but it's going to be just fine. Your team, finish your team the way that it needs to be finished. Don't like try to play it cute and like stick to ADP. I've been trying to draft a bunch. Oh, who the fuck took Whittington? Shit. Is Burton gone too? No. Okay, Jermaine Burton it is. There's my last home run swing. Jermaine Burton. Who took Whittington? Which one of you asked? Bernie. Of course it was Bernie. I should have known. Yeah, you get to build exactly what you want, which is amazing, says C-Spot Run. And the biggest piece of advice is that you get to build whatever you want. You're going to get great picks, great ADP values constantly. Whether they're ADP values or they're just mispriced, you're going to get them constantly. And as Rick says, there's 20 rounds, right? 20 rounds. So you can make things up a little bit more easily. But the quarterback stuff, you're going to have times where people just take your quarterback. There's no rhyme or reason. They took Lamar and Joe Burrow, and you set up the Jags thing. They don't have a Jaguar, and they take Trevor Lawrence. And that is the frustrating part that people are talking about, but it can be avoided if you go in knowing that these things happen and just take, right? If you need your quarterback, go get him. Build your team. So let's see. Not wrong, just early. Yeah, different scoring settings, of course, full PPR with the bonuses. But I think from a draft room perspective, that's the biggest difference. All right, let's run down this team. If you guys can hit like for me. And remember, if you drop a comment on this video after we are done here, you'll get entered into the giveaway tomorrow. You do not have to be present, but we will give away 3 different tickets to the drafters here. $20 main event every Friday. And join us at 10 a.m. Eastern, Wednesday through Friday. But on this draft, had to draft essentially onslaughts. Our quarterbacks had triplets. Lamar Jackson ended up being one of those quarterbacks, and Anthony Richardson ended up being another quarterback. Lamar actually had 4 babies on this team, which we'll get to. But we got the 101. We pulled up Jahmyr Gibbs, actually, to avoid the temptation to take the mega chalk Cincinnati Bengals onslaught. We pulled up Jahmyr Gibbs at the 101. Then we took JT and Lamar at the 2-3 turn, a start, which I've not done yet on drafters, which I quite love, actually. Then did Cortland Sutton, of course, Zay Flowers. To go with Lamar, Emeka Buka, Josh Downs, Mark Andrews, Tyler Warren through 9 rounds. We got 2 running backs, 2 tight ends plus Lamar. Come back for Ramondre Stevenson, Ramondre Day, 2 Ramondre drafts today. Luther Burden, which we discussed at length, what's going on with Ben Johnson and Luther Burden, and we'll see. We'll see about the Bears. I feel queasier and queasier every single day. Rashad White, Tyler Algier. Then we went ahead and just took Anthony Richardson to close out our Colts rule here that we set for ourselves. And then I took both Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. I talked a little bit at the beginning of it after I took Lamar about how I love onslaughting the Ravens like pass game if you don't have Derrick Henry. If something were to happen to Derrick Henry, I think like just the entire passing offense is wildly underpriced. So we got Zay, Mark Andrews, Justice Hill, and Keaton Mitchell on this team. Obviously, both running backs would benefit if something were to happen to Derrick Henry. And then the passing game through Lamar, Zay, and Andrews would really, really benefit as well in that instance. So kind of correlating those bets is something I really, really love to do. Then we closed it out with 4 wide receivers, kind of some boring, some fun. Darius Slayton, then the 2 Broncos guys, Troy Franklin and Devon Vele, and then Jermaine Burton, one of my favorite last round wide receivers to target this year. C-Spot Run loves it. Versaire, great. Have a great day. I'll just answer a couple. Are you buying into Tillman's 135 ADP on drafters? I'm not buying into it. I don't think it's like bad. I just have a lot of other picks I prefer at that price. So I'm not super into it, though I understand there will probably be teams where I might need a Cedric Tillman or something at that price. I would just prefer to avoid those teams with him at that price. 214 Darnold for sure was nice. And shout out another Erik with a K. I'm with it. Got to who is 97? Mahomes maybe 97 on DraftKings or something like that. But yes, what a time to be alive. We're in the thick of it. Join me back tomorrow, and we'll stay in the thick of it. We'll hammer some more best ball drafts tomorrow. But let me turn this damn banner off. Just that's enough about the triplets. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful Thursday. I would say stay cool out there, but it's only in the 70s here today, brother. We're gonna have some fun. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.